Hi guys, Kaiser here, and welcome back to another Age of Empires 3 Definitive Edition mod showcase. This time, we're looking at a mod that is dedicated to bringing a single civilization into the game. So we're not looking at a larger project, something like Age of the World, which introduces a host of new civilizations and features, but a smaller scale project that is focused on one civilization. And that civilization is Canada. The Canadians are here in Age of Empires 3. And so if you're interested in trying them out, let me show you really quickly the mod. You're looking for the 1812 Canadians Civilization Expanded by Airborne 506th. And it's a pretty interesting mod. Let's go ahead and check it out. Go right into the skirmish match here. You see I have Canada selected with York. I've already gone into the deck builder and put in what I believe are all of the unique special Canadian cards. And let's play on some hybrid map. That would be great. Supremacy standard. Okay, no. Standard resources. Let's start in the exploration age. Excellent. All right, let's dive in. Now, the thing that I find fascinating about the way Canada has been implemented in the mod, and it kind of reminds me of my comments about the Jesuits back in the Age of the World mod, is that Canada is a fascinating mixture of European and US and native cultures all in one. First, let me find my Explorer.
Ready.
There
Yes,
he is.
right.
Okay.
Evolve.
Prêt. Maçon.
All right.
Maçon. Votre ordre?
Commandment. Red
All
right.
right. So we have our general, which, to my understanding, functions very much like the U.S. general.
Prêt. Très bien. Je le ferai. Correct.
The villagers, of course,
Très bien.
speaking French, because Canada started out as a
Oui.
French colony,
Chasseur.
a French settlement. All right.
Come on, then, man.
Oh, interesting. We got a couple of fishing ships already. I don't believe that's a Canadian thing. I think that's a map thing, but I may be mistaken. All right. While we're exploring the map and getting our early eco going, let's go ahead and pull up the deck and we can look at some of the unique features, at least for the Age 1. We, of course, can send 3 settlers. That's pretty typical. Knight of the Bath. Your general's valor has been rewarded with a knighthood in the Order of the Bath. General's hit points and damage increased by 50%, and the inspiring flag also increases unit hit points by 5%. Pretty cool. And this one I think is really neat, and to me was very flavorful. Very, I would consider maybe a core aspect of the aesthetic and the feel of playing Canada and this Canadian settlement. First Nation allies. You ship a native embassy Travois, and it enables you to choose a First Nation ally at your native embassy. The chosen ally will allow you to recruit native warriors and research some of their unique upgrades at the native embassy. I'm going to get that next. I'm going to start off with the settlers just to get my eco going.
Right. Evolve.
Because one of the things that I really like about whenever I've seen Canada brought into Age of Empires, and the one that jumps to my mind is the Wars of Liberty mod, which I think is a really fun mod for the original Age of Empires 3. It's not a part of the Definitive Edition experience. I might showcase Wars of Liberty in the future, because that's a really, really fun mod series.
Ready.
But one of the things that they did with Canada there is they really made a thematic focus on alliances with Canada, and
Right.
they were a very good team game civilization. You helped out your teammates a lot, and what I think
Yes. Yes.
the mod developer here has done, which is really exciting, is he's sort of taken that team, ally, alliance flavor and brought that into a 1v1 experience through all of the different ways that you can ally with, first, different, through the card that I'm about to send, the Travois card, you can ally with many different alliances, like native allies, and you know, buff, upgrade those units very effectively as Canada. And then you also have, as their unique building, let's take a look here. We got a lot of the classics. Let me pop down to market real quick. But their really unique building is the Fur Trading Company. And that lets you ally with a particular company, and you get different bonuses and technologies through those companies. So that's really, really neat. Alright, you see the different politicians. The governor is new. 1 outpost wagon and just 200 coin. Cavalier Prince. 1 fur trading company wagon and researches hunting dogs. Let's go. The farm first. Okay, so normally you would not build a farm this early, but I wanted to show this off because I think it's really neat, and it emphasizes what I believe to be the aesthetic flavor and direction of this Civ. Which is, and you probably noticed it, it uses the Indian Native American design. Here we go. Now let's go ahead and build a fur trading company. Pop that down. And so that's a small thing. It's not the biggest difference in the world, but it sort of is, again, emblematic of what I believe makes this implementation of Canada so interesting, is that mixture of the European, colonial / American, and the Native American part. So in the Canadian barracks, you have access to a couple of units. You have the Provincial Militia, which is described as a skirmisher with low range that sacrifices attack for hit points. Gain additional hit points in groups. Now, I don't know off the top of my head whether these units are identical to the state militia that the United States has, but the U.S. militia functions similarly, where it is a low-range skirmisher with more hit points. It kind of serves as a frontline kind of unit, even though it is a skirmisher.
Yes. I will.
All right, and then we also have, of course, we have the regular, and then this guy called the Fencible, a defensive skirmisher that benefits from fighting near fortifications, good against infantry. So, again, kind of making me think of what on earth? It's kind of making me think of a U.S. Sharpshooter, where similarly you have a second skirmisher that's much more of a long-range unit, but the Canadian skirmisher, their main shtick is actually more similar to the Maltese, where this particular unit benefits from fighting near forts, which I do not believe the American Sharpshooter has that bonus.
Yes, yes,
Okay, here we are. We've just entered into the Fortress Age. I recruited a couple of regulars, which start off looking very much like the French musketeer. Let's pick up a couple of these Fencibles, which are the skirmishers. And let's grab a few of the First Nation auxiliaries, and then I will showcase the various nation options that we have with our First Nation alliances. And here are the First Nation auxiliary units, again, which I believe are supposed to be a heavy infantry. They are good against cavalry and shock infantry. So I believe they're supposed to be heavy infantry, but looking at the tag, I don't actually see heavy infantry. Instead, I see that they are themselves labeled shock infantry. I don't know if that's by design or not, because they definitely don't function as typical shock infantry. But regardless, take a look at the outfits, the design of these different units. It's very, very neat. I really love what they've done here. Now, I've been teasing this for a little bit. Let's go ahead and dive into the different alliances. Okay, so our first choice is the Wyandot allies. I'm probably not pronouncing that correctly. Wyandot. But we select them, and we get access to the Huron Mantlet. Huron trade dominance. The Huron mercantile monopoly permits you to get 1 mantlet for every 2 minutes of game length, up to 30 minutes. So the mantlet, of course, is kind of a siege unit, good for knocking out buildings. You have the Huron Sun Ceremony. The Huron Sun Cult increases the number of Huron mantlets you can train. So you start off with a limit of 10. You can go up to 30, I believe. The Huron Fishing Wedding Ritual boosts your fishing boat gather rate. Fishing boats gather 15% faster across the board. And then, of course, you may take up from there. So, pretty good if you want to focus on siege and navy. Okay, next up we have the Six Nation Allies, which is largely represented as the Haudenosaunee. So, going ahead and selecting them. And we get access to the Haudenosaunee mantlet, which is interesting to me. I don't know statistically what the differences would be between the Haudenosaunee mantlet and the Huron mantlet. I'm also not sure if that's been created for the Canadian mod, or if both of those mantlets are actually in the game by default, and if there are differences there, I'm not aware of them. Maybe someone in the comments can answer that question. We also have the Haudenosaunee Tomahawk, which is a warrior that hurls tomahawks into battle. We've got the Morning Wars. The Haudenosaunee prepare for war. You get a shipment of mantlets. 1 mantlet for every 2 minutes the game has lasted. Very similar to, again, the previous technology with the last alliance option. Haudenosaunee Lacrosse. Practice the native sport of lacrosse. Ranged infantry attack increased. The Haudenosaunee League. They allow you to train tomahawks and mantlets out of your military buildings like regular units. So you don't get the same ability to mass up as many mantlets, but you can train them up faster once you research the League. Because, of course, you just spam out barracks and what have you and get them that way. And then, of course, warrior societies. So, the Tomahawk, which is a... Yeah, this is a heavy ranged infantry. Our third option is the Lenape allies. Lenape? Again, I'm not entirely sure my pronunciations, but option number 3, this unlocks the Lenape Warrior, a Native American skirmisher that can stun enemy units at a distance with his war cry, very similar to the Italian Bersaglieri. Your techs are Lenape clans. War cry ability takes less time to be recharged, a buff to this unit. The ceremony, Lenape Warrior build limit increased. Lenape Three Sisters. Villagers gather food from mills and farms faster. A little bit of an economic option there, as well as techs that benefit their unit specifically. Kind of neat. And I think a very strong option if you're going heavily into buffing native units, native allies. Our fourth option is the Dakota allies. Let's go ahead and select them real quick. You get access to the Dakota Axe Rider and the Dakota Rifle Rider, so several strong cavalry options. Dakota Horse Training lets you mount your cavalry more quickly. Marauders increase the build limits of your 2 Dakota units. Well, yeah. Dakota Hunting Grounds spawn 12 bison at your home city gather point. Pretty neat. And, of course, you can buff your Dakota units as well with Dakota Warrior Societies. Our fifth option are the Cree. Allying with the Cree gives us the Cree Coureur de Bois, the Cree Tracker, and these techs. Cree Warrior Societies. Give extra attack and hit points to your Cree Tracker unit. Cree Kinship. Bonds of Loyalty enable Cree units to be recruited much faster. Which I don't see... That's 5 Coureur de Bois and 13 Cree Tracker. I don't know how useful that is, but perhaps by itself, maybe if you were able to get more Cree on a map, that would be useful, but I don't know that that's super helpful. Still, I guess they do recruit 45% faster, which is nice. Cree Tanning. Skillful Cree leatherworking lets you better protect your soldiers. All infantry and cavalry hit points increased. That is fantastic, especially for cavalry. Hit points is very important, so that's a good one. Cree Textile Craftsmanship. Cree woven cloth can be used to reduce the cost and construction time of all buildings. So I see the Cree as a very strong economic option, whether you're able to Again, pump out additional villagers. You can use the native embassy as a second town center, assuming you're not on a map that already has another TC. Courrier de Bois, of course, are even more effective than typical villagers, so that's a really neat option that's available to you. And yeah, Cree textile craftsmanship means you can build your bases much cheaper and faster, so that's a nice option there. And our sixth and final option are the Shawnee allies. And here we go. You get the Shawnee Rifleman, a skirmisher that is accurate at long range. And then these technologies. Tecumseh's Tactics, all native warriors move faster. Not just Shawnee, but all native warriors. Confederate Craftsmen. The combined knowledge of the Confederacy's craftsmen improve dry storage. Dock, market, farm, and estate improvements cost less wood, which is a pretty neat bonus. If you get this early on, you could get a lot of wood savings. You see, everything is 50% cheaper, right? Well, actually, no, some of these things are no wood. Others are less wood. The Prophet's Teachings. This is a big one. Form an alliance with the Wyandots, a member of Tecumseh's Confederacy. So, if you select the Shawnee, for 200 wood and 200 gold, you get the Wyandot in the bargain. Boom. And so you actually have access to the Huron Mantlet and the Shawnee Rifleman and all of those technologies. So, I think that they are a very strong option. Again, especially if you're building your Canada to provide buffs and improvements to native allies, that is a very strong option. So I really like what the mod has done here, where it gives you 6 different options right out of the gate, just with a level 1 home city card. That's very cool. What I would like to see are... what I don't understand is how the different alliances open up different strategic options from a gameplay point of view. I think thematically, looking at the history of Canada, I love it, and I love the concept. But when would I want to pick any one of the 6 different civilizations? I don't know, because many of these civilizations offer light infantry skirmisher options. The Shawnee, I believe, are one such example. A Shawnee skirmisher that's accurate at long range. Well, that's great, but then I've already got the provincial militia, and I've got the veteran fencible. When would I want to go with the Shawnee? For that unit. And again, there are other native alliances there that many of them provide another light infantry unit, when it seems that Canada is already well set up when it comes to light infantry. So, not entirely sure how... I could imagine if you were to get into the numbers, some of these tribes might just come out as better 90% of the time than the others, but I do like the options. Maybe a little bit of a blurb in the description just describing when you would pick one tribe over another. Or even if the mod were... I believe most of the native allies are taken from the base game, so maybe if the mod developer wanted to customize Canada's Shawnee, or Canada's Six Nations, or whatever, you know, so that they are a little more unique to Canada and provide some unique options that you're otherwise not able to get. It gives you that opportunity to customize your Canada strategy in a unique way. I think it's really neat. It's a really, really neat idea. But that's only the first half of Canada's alliance-forming options, because you also have access to the Fur Trading Company. And this works very similar to the Asian alliance system. And what you do is you select the button, and you are able to choose one of 3 companies. Not a foreign ally like it says up here, but a company. You get the Hudson Bay Company, the Northwest Company, or the Compagnie du Canada, right? And each of these give you access to different technologies. Like the Indian or the Native American tribes, the indigenous tribes, right? Let's go ahead and look at each of these 3 in sequence. We'll start off here with the Hudson Bay Company. And this unlocks the... I believe this is true for all 3 companies. You get access to the Voyageur, which is a rugged French-Canadian villager that works in the fur trade and gathers fast. So, I believe this is Canada's version of the Coureur de Bois. The Voyageur, he, once he trains, you see he trains about the same speed as a regular Vil. And he gathers a little more quickly than a typical Vil does. The other thing that the fur trading company provides, no matter what company you pick, is you are able to take shipments and translate them into coin. So right here, I can sell one of my shipments, and I'll go ahead and do that right now. I spend a shipment, I've just lost one, but instead, I'm going to get 400 coin at my town center. Alright, so here we go. Here's the Voyageur. And you will see that the regular settler collects at 0.55 wood per second. The Voyageur collects at 0.68 wood per second. So a faster working villager. This is an option that really gives you a strong economic boom if you go down the fur trading route. The Voyageur has a 25 build limit, so pretty impressive, pretty significant. Here are the Hudson Bay Company options. Your big button tech. The Pemmican War. Defend your colony by issuing muskets to your settlers and hiring Swiss mercenaries from the Regiment de Muron. You can research the Northwest Passage. It delivers an explorer to seek the Northwest Passage. One explorer enabled. Fur brigades. Your network of Voyageurs makes your trade routes more efficient, providing 35% more income, increasing XP trickle of the fur trade company by 50%. So you do see the trading company gives you an XP trickle just for existing. This improves that. And it also improves the XP of your trade routes, which is nice. Mariage à la Faconde du Pays, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, delivers a native embassy travail and establishes a relationship with the Métis. Allows Métis Hivernants to be trained for your native embassy and provides a 10% discount on researching pemmican. Métis Hivernants are a native warrior ranged cavalry unit that can gather from huntables. So very similar to, I believe, some of the cowboy type units that you see with the US and Mexico have a similar function. They are a ranged cavalry dragoon-like unit that can also gather food from bison and wild game. Right. Pemmican. The Métis' supply of pemmican keeps your voyageurs supplied out on the wilds. A trickle of food enriches you for the rest of the game. Capotes. Point blankets altered into coats help your units survive in the wilderness. Land unit hit points increased by 10%. York Factory Express. An efficient fur trade brigade lets you quickly move units across the country. Units move 5% faster. And a frontier fort. The trading company establishes a fort to secure trade, delivers a fort wagon, and your forts now trickle XP. That's pretty neat. The Corps of Canadian Voyageurs. Recruit your Voyageurs into the war effort to serve as pioneers, riflemen, and guides. Outfit your Voyageurs with army-issued weaponry, increasing their damage. So, their base range damage is 8. You add 14 on top of that, and that gives you 22 range damage,
Yes.
which is comparable to this Fortress Age regular. Right? Well, okay, that's 22 siege. 25 range attack. So, comparable, similar. Not quite as strong as a military unit, but it is kind of almost like a, back in Age of Empires 2, a Flemish Revolution option, where your villagers get to remain villagers. They can still do their work, but if you want to send them to the front lines, they are just about as strong as typical infantry. That's pretty nice. Our next option here is the Northwest Company. This is kind of an alternative to the Hudson Bay Company. And you will see that, actually, most of these are the same. Mackenzie's Expedition. So the top row of technologies are all the same. The Pemmican War, that is the same. Or no, that's not the same, is it? Is that? That looks different to me. You and your team recruit 3 Métis Hivernants, a stolen falconet, and your native warriors deal 10% more damage to buildings. I do believe that's a little different from what the Hudson Bay Company had. You also have Mackenzie's Expeditions. Explore the map for you and your team. The Beaver Club. The Nor'westers established the Beaver Club. Their affluent parties provide a tiny trickle of all resources for you and your team. Frontier Fort is the same. Corps of Canadian Voyageurs is the same. Although, again, was it 17 ranged attack? I believe it was 18 last time. So either that description is different or the texts are slightly different, depending on who you We also get access to the Compagnie du Canada. Let's go ahead and take a look at them real quick. Our third business venture. We get the Beaver Wars. Your homeland sends a unit of regulars to secure the peace with the Iroquois. As part of the treaty, they must send 2 villagers to live in your colony. So you get 10 regulars and 2 villagers with this Age 4 Big Button technology. Brooks Passage is the same. Fur Brigade's the same. Okay, this top row is the same. The Filet du Roi. The Crown sponsors women to immigrate to New France. Delivers 3 Filets du Roi, which, if my French is correct, means 3 red women? 3 red daughters? And settlers train 5% faster. So this is a pretty strong economic option. You're already going into the economy with the Voyageur, and now you have this technology just to make it even stronger. Frontier Fort should be the same. Corps of Canadian Voyageur, the same. Rats. Vermin destroy a Parisian warehouse's furs, increasing demand for both furs and fur traders. Enables Coureur de Bois to be trained from your tavern, and increases the company's XP trickle by 50%. So, again, just even stronger economy options. Between, you got the Voyageurs, you got the Filet du Roi, you have, you could choose one of your native embassy options that will give you Cree Coureur de Bois, and then you can get regular Coureur de Bois out of your tavern. The economic boom potential with Canada is ridiculous. Insane. So I really love the idea of the native allies and the company options, because it gives you a lot of flexibility, in theory, as Canada, in order to benefit, kind of tweak the strategy, tweak whether you want to go for a boom strat or maybe more of a rush strategy. I really love the idea. Now, I've not taken time to really sit down and analyze, well, which company would you want to use when, which one is the best, which alliances make sense and which ones don't. Based off of my intuitions, it seems like, at least with the native alliances, it seems like they are maybe more flavorful and less core and foundational to the Canadian experience than maybe I would advocate for. I love the idea of it. And I do really, really enjoy what the fur trading company brings to the table. Although, again, I don't see as much influence that the companies could have on Canada, making that a core part of the Canadian experience as I might like, because all of them seemed economic to some degree or other, or providing some passive buffs. I think I would have liked to have seen maybe a little bit more of a striking difference, where this company is the naval option, or this company is for if you're going to play a heavy cavalry game as Canada, or this one is all in on economy, or what have you. But maybe I'm just overlooking the design concept of each of the different companies. Siege Workshop. While we're doing that, let's take a look at the Canadian deck. Alright, so again, there is a full list of options in the deck builder. What I have done is grabbed all of the cards that I identified as uniquely Canadian, introduced by the mod developer for Canada. Right, so we've already highlighted rather significantly the First Nations Allies card. We've got the Knights of the Bath card. In Age 2, we have the Royal Charter. You get a fur trading company wagon, and it removes the cost of establishing the company. So you do have to spend some resources in order to choose one of those company options. With the Royal Charter, that is no longer necessary. The Wanton Destruction, which I thought this was a fascinating reference to the War of 1812. This is a quote from a Canadian politician, if I remember correctly, calling for reprisals after the U.S. had invaded. They'd gone into Canada, and if I remember correctly, they had burned down a capital in Canada, kind of a regional capital. The Canadians come back down. They torch Washington, D.C., the White House. And this quote, "As consequence for the enemy's disgraceful conduct, your infantry is authorized to assist in inflicting that measure of retaliation which shall deter the enemy from a repetition of similar outrages." Most of that quote, it's kind of a paraphrase, most of it, the term wanton destruction comes from this letter that leads to the burning of the White House. And I just love that sort of historical reference. My hat is off to the developer just for this card alone, and that sort of flavor is really neat. But what it does is it gives your gunpowder troopers additional siege damage, which makes a lot of sense, again, considering the War of 1812 and how that all went down. Madeleine de Vercheret? I'm definitely not pronouncing that right. Madeleine de Vercheret's courage. The heroism displayed by the 14-year-old Madeleine inspires your community. The inspiring flag now also improves settler gathering rates by 15% and may be placed anywhere on the map you have explored. So, again, another economic option. If I can find my explorer, wherever he is, there he is. Pierre du Sable. Again, just like the U.S. General and the Mexican General, you have access to the inspiring flag, and with the use of the different cards, the flag will provide different bonuses. So, with her courage, it improves settler gathering rates by 50% and can be placed anywhere on the map you've explored. So, you no longer need to have the general himself near the flag in order to place it. You have the Acte du Québec. Provides your Canadian church with unique improvements. I have not seen these technologies yet. This would be a first for me. I did pull up unique Canadian church technologies. Let's look at those real quick. We have, let's see, habitants. Your settlers gather 20% faster from farms and mills, but 5% slower from everything else. Very interesting late game option when your economy is mostly going to be, well, your villager economy will mostly be farms, mills. I wonder if it does not affect fishing boats at all. Now, it's only listing here, the estate. Look at that, the estate, the mine. So, a significant boost to your food production, but everything else, including your gold production of the states, would be 5% slower. Wow, that's an interesting trade-off. I imagine this would be a late-game tech. You would not want to research this while you're still gathering from the map. But if you're in a late-game situation, that could be useful. Glengarry Fencibles. Ships a number of Scottish soldiers, Fencibles, and Highlanders from Upper Canada. Scottish soldiers from Upper Canada. And then we have the Canadian Voltigeurs. Ships a number of Canadian Voltigeurs, which are skirmishers from Lower Canada. In the Fortress Age, we have the Provincial Regulars. Increases the attack and hit points of Regulars, Fencibles, and the Canadian General by 15%. Your Native Warriors are 25% less expensive, and your Inspiring Flag now also increases their damage dealt by 10%. So the Amherstburg Alliance is a wonderful card if you were going heavily into the Native Allies option, the Indigenous Units option, which makes a lot of sense given the options that are available to Canada. I really like the idea of this card and that bonus. Molson's Brewery. John Molson's successful brewery allows him to finance Canada's first steamship and railway. A trickle of coin enriches you for the rest of the game, and you get one steamer, if possible, and trade route upgrades are free. Very nice. This one was pretty cool. I really love the idea of this one. I'm thinking there's something similar with the U.S. Marines. Sea Fencibles. You get a caravel containing 3 Fencibles, and it enables Fencibles garrisoned in warships to improve the ship's default ranged attack. That's pretty cool. I really like the idea of that. You know what would be neat is if it were programmable in such a way. Because I'm guessing what this does is it just gives your warship attack additional, just additional damage. It'd be cool if instead the Fencibles could shoot off of the dock, off of the deck of the ship. So maybe you would program that by giving the warship a secondary attack that's much more of a volley of small fire, and that attack is only available if Fencibles are garrisoned in the warship. Anyway, I just really like the idea of this. Very cool. Can I ship that 4 times, or what is it? No, it's 1 boat and 3 units. Got it. 3 Fencibles. And then we have the Great Lakes Raiders. It ships 1 galleon containing 5 Royal Marines, and it enables Royal Marines to be trained from your docks, forts, and galleons. Royal Marines are heavy infantry units that are good against ship, artillery, and buildings. Here are, by the way, the veteran Royal Marines. Let's look at them real quick. Looking pretty neat, pretty neat. Let's get a comparison between them and... Oh, actually,
Yes.
let's do this right here. So the regular has more ranged attack, although the Royal Marine has significant bonus damage against ships.
Yes.
And the Royal Marine also does more siege damage, and their hand attack is better. So the regular appears to be better at ranged in a land fight, but the Royal Marine better at most other things. In the Imperial Age, we have the Royal Newfoundland Regiment. Ships 12 Fencibles and improves their damage against ships. Again, this anti-naval component. The Compagnie de Guides. Compagnie de Guides. Volunteer cavalrymen reduce the cost of your hussars and dragoons by 15%. This is the first thing I've seen about Canada that is actually cavalry focused, unless I'm missing something. This is your cavalry option here in Tier 4. And if I go over to the stables, you just have generic regular hussar and dragoon. It's a shame you don't have access to something like the Mounties, but I get it. The Mounties didn't really show up until the late 19th century, if I remember correctly. And they're not even really a military unit, to my understanding anyway. They're more of a provincial police force. So it is a shame that there isn't really a unique regional Canadian cavalry, but there's nothing there yet anyway. I don't know if the mod developer has any ideas, but for now, you just have the Hussar and the Dragoon. Nothing in the way of unique Canadian bonuses, except for Compagnie de Guides. Laura Seccord's Warning arrives fast. The Inspiring Flag now also boosts unit movement speed by 15% and gains a much wider area of effect. So a good military option. We already had the Courage of Madeleine de Verchères, and that's more of an economic bonus. This is a military bonus. Lets your units move faster, gain a wider area of effect. You, of course, have your 2 factories. Team Timber Drogers? Joger? For the rest of the game, a medium trickle of wood enriches your team. I don't know if this is the first card that I've ever seen that is a trickle card in Age 4. There probably are others somewhere out there. Someone's going to prove me wrong, but that's got to be pretty significant because you have your farms and your plantations for food and gold, or your estates, they call them now. Farms and estates for food and gold. You don't really have a wood option other than maybe setting your factories to produce wood. So Timber Drivers definitely provides some option there on a map where maybe there isn't a lot of wood. You might be able to outlast your opponent with a card like this. And then here, the Isaac Todd. Commission a ship to destroy your competition in the fur trade. It ships 1 privateer, and fur trade technologies cost 15% less. So everything that you would want to research at your fur trading company is 15% less. I don't know how useful that is. This is already in Age 4, and you're probably picking up several of the cards first that have a higher priority. At that point, do you really care about a 15% savings off of... I think the most expensive thing here is 800 wood, 800 gold, so that's what, 80 plus 40, so like 120 food, I'm sorry, 120 wood, 120 gold saved off. That plus 1 privateer, is that really that worth it? I don't know about that one. The Beaver Wars, which is big button tech, that's 260 gold, if my math is right. And I don't know that that's worth it compared to getting factories out. I think by that point, you've researched most of these techs already. Yeah. Anyway, so those are what I see as the unique Canadian options. There are plenty of other just, you know, ship villagers and ship resources, your traditional classic cards. And I think that pretty much covers it for the Canadians. I can move on and take out Quatamoc, but when it comes to the unique features of Canada, that pretty much covers it. So I really enjoy what this mod brings to the table. I think that if Forgotten Empires were to actually bring Canada into Age of Empires 3, it should probably take certain cues from this mod. It should look something like this. I love the mix of different cultures, the flexibility the Canadians provide, kind of the theme of forging alliances, whether you're talking about companies back in Europe or whether you're talking about native allies. That makes a lot of sense, and you know, Canada being able to provide some flexibility to how you want to build your particular Canada in a given game. Being able to lean heavily into, again, alliances with the Shawnee or the Cree. That makes a lot of sense historically. I like it a lot. To my understanding, probably just maybe giving them a few more options as far as cavalry goes. I didn't really see much of anything in the way of, you know, unique Canadian cavalry options. And then also maybe providing some starker differences between the different native alliances, the different company options. That would be nice. But I really like what they've got here. It's really, really, really neat. Yeah, I think the mercenaries are based on the map, not the civ, so I think that pretty much covers it as far as this goes. So, I think we're going to go ahead and call it here as far as showing off Canada in this Age of Empires 3 mod. It's very, very cool. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, like it, subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate it and enjoy it. Enjoy having you guys watching the videos. It's a joy to make them. For now, guys, this is the Iron Kaiser, signing off. Have a great day.